So I'm Steven, or as most everyone knows me, Shock, 21, and I live in Georgia. I do YouTube full-time content creation.
So is YouTube your biggest source of income, and how long have you been uploading?
So it is my biggest source of income. I've also been doing YouTube for, I want to say like 7 years, but full-time, like actually making a living off of YouTube, I've only been doing it for like 4 years. But I've actually been posting videos to YouTube for about 6 or 7.
When did YouTube become your full-time job?
So it was, I think, April of 2020. It was, right around with COVID and all that happening. I worked my parents' restaurant, and me being an underage kid, I don't have any bills to pay. So the other employees that are working there needed the hours over me, so they kind of laid me off. I had 17, and I had no other job, nothing else to do besides YouTube, and I was already doing it, and I wanted to do it full time anyways. So really, it was actually kind of my push to get them to quote unquote fire me. I basically quit and pursued it full time, and from there, that's really when it started to kick off. Yeah.
Did you work any other jobs before that?
Yeah, so my parents have owned multiple different restaurants. They've had a pizzeria, actually two different pizzerias in Ohio when we lived there. And then we moved to Georgia, and they've opened up two restaurants here that have both been successful as well. So I worked at all of them. And, like I mentioned, in April of 2020 is when I stopped.
How did your channel first gain traction?
Some of the first things that I was doing were no recoil videos. Those were kind of like my claim to fame at the time. I don't know what it was, but I was kind of just known as the guy who could control the recoil of guns that nobody else could. So I just started uploading videos like that, and I got a little bit of traction from that.
Is Shock your only channel?
So I have a second channel called Aftershock as well. I've only got 2 videos on it, and that's for Dark and Darker content. So that game isn't out yet, so that's why there's only 2 videos on it. I'm waiting for that game to come out. So I plan to post more on that channel, and then I'm also working on some other channels as well that we actually literally just started this week. So
How many hours a day do you work?
it's definitely going to depend on the channel. I feel like that's a tricky question because it depends on the type of content you're doing. Like for me, I'm doing gameplay content. If I'm wanting to upload, and even in the gameplay niche, say I'm uploading strictly clips, like only rounds where I get 3, 4, 5 kills, that's gonna take way more time to get a video out of just those clips versus say a 40-minute video, something that's like 4 times as long of just like full games. That's way easier to do. So even within like one niche of gaming or highlights, it can really vary depending on what you're doing. For me personally, since I'm doing mostly full games, to be honest, I don't need to put too much time into actually playing Siege or whatever. So when I was doing verse videos daily and I was doing clips videos, I was working like 12, 13 hours a day just because I had to, at the time I didn't have Dapper, my editor right here, to edit things for me at one point. So I was doing a lot of the editing myself, and getting those highlights, getting those clips takes up a lot of time. Now I've kind of shifted my content to things where I don't need to spend as much time on it, and that allows me to focus on things like these other channels that I'm starting.
Do you like to outsource parts of the process?
Yeah, so that's all him. That's Dapper's my full-time editor. So recently I just got this place and I moved him in with me. So this is our office that's kind of in pieces right now. We're trying to build it up, but we just got here. But yeah, he does all of that. He does my thumbnails. That's what he's working on literally right now. He's working on a thumbnail. He does all the editing for my videos, all that stuff. Yeah.
What does an average day in your life look like?
So I wake up pretty early. Like I wake up around like 7 or 8 a.m. most days. And then I like to come up here. Like this week, I've been coming up here in the mornings, recording like an hour or 2 of footage for the other channels that we're starting. And then I'll go to the gym, or we'll, start streaming. It depends on what I have going on that day. But I either go to the gym in the mornings or at night. And if I don't go in the morning, then I usually just start streaming until like 3 to 5 p.m., somewhere around then. And then we usually take a little break, get off for a little bit, try to do some stuff IRL, just kind of take a break from the computer, because I would say the past like 2.5 years, I've been like grinding really hardcore, just like nonstop streaming, nonstop uploading. Like I've been doing daily videos for years, so I've kind of been stepping on the brakes a little bit recently. Um, but yeah,
Is being a YouTuber stressful?
yeah, it definitely is. I mean, you're gonna have no consistency when it comes to being a content creator. So, you know, a lot of people think it's great. You know, and it is. There's nothing else I'd really rather do, but it's very stressful. And if you're not smart with your finances, you're not smart with how you spend things. You know, you're not being smart about the longevity of it. Then it's not gonna end well for you, and it could definitely lead to a lot of stressful times. I mean, any channel you have is going to go through crazy ups and crazy downs, and you've really got to be able to hold it out through those downs.
Do you remember your first YouTube paycheck?
No, I don't. I don't remember it. But it's funny you say that. I remember like 6 years ago. I don't even think this was on my same YouTube account. I think it was for a different account. But I went to my parents and I was trying to convince them to sign me up for the YouTube partner program and all that, and they didn't trust it. They didn't know what it was, so they didn't want to do it. But I was like, no, trust me, like do it. And that's the only like memory I have really of like the super early on days. But no, I can't remember the first check.
How much money did you make from YouTube in the last year?
The last year, well, I'll say 2022, I think was like 290,000 off YouTube.
Do you see it as a job or a hobby that you get paid for?
It was definitely a hobby at the start. It was something I started as, you know, I really liked watching my own clips back. So I enjoyed putting them together and uploading to YouTube and just watching it back for myself. So it definitely started as a hobby. I also always had it in the back of my head that I wanted to be a YouTuber. I always wanted to have it be my job, but it was never something that, you know, I was planning on at the start or anything like that. It definitely completely started as a hobby, but I'd say, especially over the past like 2.5, 3 years, it's definitely turned into more of a job for me. You know, like I've got like a full-time employee now or whatever, and a lot of it is very business focused, I guess. You know, it's still making content, and you know, I try to stay as true to that as I can, but it's definitely more of a job now. Yeah.
Do you invest your money?
Yeah, definitely. So I've invested pretty much everything I've made off of YouTube. I've been extremely frugal with all my monies. I've never spent all of it on crazy jewelry or clothes or anything expensive like that. Like I've been extremely frugal. I was fortunate enough where my parents owned another house aside from the one that they lived in, and they owned it outright. So I was able to live there for very, very low rent. So I stayed there for years, like close to 3 years. It was like a 700 square foot shack. It was nothing crazy. Like, don't think there's anything lavish. And you know, I had like a terrible car and all this, all while I was making good money off YouTube, and I just invested all of it. And you know, I think that was probably the best decision I've made, because so far, you know, I'm up over 100% on all my investments. And I mean, it's been life-changing. The investments has been truly. I feel like if you're not investing your money, like you seriously need to rethink what you're doing.
Do you have any other income streams apart from your YouTube channels?
So not necessarily. I mean, I would say yes. You know, I have Six Shot Academy, which is kind of a community project that I started, and I've got a lot of different content creators and people a part of that. And I mean, you could see that as an income source. All of it though really comes from the main YouTube channel. So if the YouTube channel isn't doing well, then I won't make any money from anything. So, you know, I've got sponsorship, revenue streams, the Six Shot Academy, stuff like that. But realistically, if the channel tanks, then so will those other forms of revenue streams. So really, it all comes back to keeping the channel healthy.
What is the best and the worst thing about your job?
The best and the worst. I would say the best thing about it, I mean, it's got to just be the fact that just the freedom around it, just the complete freedom you have with what you want to do. I mean, yes, like you are limited, you know, right now with my main channel, my shock channel, I'm kind of limited to siege content. I can't just start uploading, you know, Warzone content and expect to get tons of views. But you know, you have so much freedom when it comes to when you want to work during the day. You know, if you're not a morning person, wake up a couple hours later, you know what I mean? Like you're kind of on your own hours. So I would say the freedom that it gives you is absolutely amazing. The one thing that I would say is kind of a negative, though, is that you have freedom with how you want to spend your day, but you can't really realistically take a lot of time off. And that might be confusing for some people because, you know, that sounds like that clashes. But what happens is if you want to go take, like, say, a 2-week vacation somewhere, you want to fly out to Hawaii or something like that, it's really difficult because, you know, you can't just call in for 2 weeks. You know, you've got to schedule videos out. You've got to make 2 weeks worth of content while uploading the content that you're already doing. You got to prep all that. So, you know, if you want to take any sort of like length of time off more than a few days, it's really hard to do that, and it's going to take a lot of work before that happens so that you're able to take any time off. But like I said earlier, like I wouldn't do anything else. So
What is your best piece of advice to anyone who wants to do what you do?
yeah, so the number one thing that people need to do if they want to become a YouTuber is just upload videos. I see, you know, I've even had friends who ask me all the time, you know, how, you know, what kind of videos should I post? What should I do? Like what happens is people end up over analyzing everything, and they end up over planning. You know, they say, well, I want to get 30 videos recorded and finished, and then I'm going to upload them, you know, but it's like, realistically, the best way to go about it is just to, you know, start recording whatever it is you want to do, and then just start editing it, and you're going to learn from that. Just the trial and error from just doing it is the absolute best way to learn. And I mean, I've been doing daily uploads, so like you could take my word for that. Like that is the best way to learn from your mistakes and just learn how to improve and innovate on what you're doing. I mean, if you upload one video, say you upload 4 times a month, right? Well, you could only really see or gauge how things are doing once every week, right? You just need to start uploading videos and just seeing what works and actually start doing stuff. A lot of people, they just get stuck in the planning phase, and unfortunately, they just never really make it out of the planning phase.